Your bags are packed, you've checked in online, your Uber is ordered, and you've checked to make sure the coffee pot is turned off 5 times. But you still feel like you may be forgetting something. Today, we're going to go over my checklist of 10 things you need to do before leaving for the airport, especially if you are traveling internationally. Let's go. Number 1, check your passport. And I'm not just talking about your expiration date. I think most of you know by now that almost all countries will require your passport's expiration date to be more than 6 months past the date that you are leaving their country. But some other things you should check your passport for are damages beyond normal wear and tear, like rips to the cover or torn pages, or even if you've gotten a hole punch in there or something. You also need to make sure that there are at least 2 blank pages in your passport, and some countries even require 4 blank pages. This allows their immigration officers adequate space for both an entry and an exit stamps. And some airlines may not even allow you to board the plane if your passport does not have the required blank pages. You'll definitely want to do your research because as of 2016 in the US, you can't just get extra pages added. You will have to go through the whole renewal process for your passport. Lastly, you have signed your passport with either blue or black ink. I'm one of those people that never signs my official items when I first get them. And I'm always having somebody make me sign my credit card or other cards when I go to use it for the first time. Well, I forgot to sign my most recently renewed passport before my first trip. And I was lucky that the woman at the airline counter caught it when I was checking in my bags and allowed me to sign it then. I did have to show her my driver's license as a secondary ID, but I could have been in real trouble if that had not happened until I got to immigration. I mean, that's a big deal. So make sure you sign your passport when you get it. Number 2, before you start packing your suitcases, make sure you know exactly what you are allowed to bring on the airline or airlines you will be flying. Over the past couple of years, many airlines have been changing up their baggage allowance terms from how many bags are included in the ticket price, if any bags are included, to lower weights allowed in your checked luggage. Or if you are flying various international airlines, weight restrictions for your carry-on and personal items too. Make sure to check and double check the size allowances for your luggage for all the airlines you may be taking on your trip. You don't want to end up paying extra fees you haven't budgeted for because you're flying on a partner airline that has a different size requirements or weight requirements for your carry-on suitcase than the main airline that you booked your ticket through. Number 3, make a digital and hard copy of your itinerary, including all of the addresses and contact information for any accommodations and tours that you are going on. Save that digital copy somewhere on your phone that you don't need cell service or Wi-Fi in order to retrieve it. I personally like using the Notes app on my phone, but I've also just used my Files app to save them into. It's a great idea to save them in a secondary location like Google Docs or Dropbox, where you could retrieve them if your phone gets lost or stolen. I also really like to email a copy to someone responsible who is not going on the trip with me. And it's usually my mom or my daughter. And number 4 is to do the same with your passport. Take pictures of both the inside front pages and back pages of your passport, including the barcode on your passport. I like to take a picture of the front and back of my ID too, and then I'm going to want to save those in the same locations that I've saved my itinerary, including sending those digital copies to a responsible friend or family member. Number 5, purchase travel insurance. As Ferris Bueller says, life moves pretty fast and you want to be ready for the unexpected. Whether you have to cancel your trip for unforeseen reasons or something happens while you are traveling, you want to have the reassurance that you won't be out a ton of money, or worst case, you can get home in the event of a medical emergency. You do want your coverage to start before you leave for the airport to start your trip. And I always keep my coverage until a day or two after I'm supposed to return, just in case there are delays or cancellations during the return trip. Definitely take the time to read all of the fine print because the devil is always in the details. I always travel with travel insurance, mainly because I like to do physically challenging trips and I want to make sure I have the coverage to get me back home if I hurt myself. I do have a link below for a great resource to find the best travel insurance for your needs. You'll just put in the trip you are taking and it'll ask you a few other details, and then it will populate several different options for you to choose from. I do receive a small amount of commission that helps support this channel when you use my link below, so thank you. I appreciate it. Number 6. This one is becoming less and less necessary, but I still wanted to include it because there are some banks that still require it, and that is to notify your credit card companies and your bank when and where you will be traveling. There is nothing worse than getting to your destination, pulling out your card to pay for something, and having it declined. So embarrassing. Not to mention the time you'll have to spend on the phone getting it all straightened out. And these things usually happen on a weekend, which can add to delays and a ton of frustration. Most of the time, the AI on the credit cards are set up that they know when and where you're traveling, especially if you have bought your airline tickets with that card. But every once in a while, the card will question if you are still the person using it. A couple of years ago on a road trip to Florida, I had been using my card the whole time I was traveling. We were in the Keys mostly, but I took a day trip up to the Everglades and I went to go put gas in my car and my card was declined. Now, Capital One, my credit card, did send me a text to confirm that it was me using the card, but that's just, I just wanted to point out that sometimes their systems can make mistakes. Also, when I traveled last year to Japan and Korea, I did ask my bank if I needed to let them know because I wasn't sure if I might use my debit card while I was traveling over there. And they emphatically said yes. So just to save you the hassle and possible embarrassment, make sure to give your bank and credit card companies a heads up when you are going on a trip, especially overseas. Number 7. Check to see if there are any visa requirements for the country you are traveling to that need to be addressed before you board a plane to that country. When I traveled to Japan last year, I had to get a visa before I could get on the plane from Detroit to Tokyo. They do have an electronic system that you go through and eventually end up with a QR code that is used for immigration. Unfortunately, I did not do this before I left my house for the airport, and it was a little stressful trying to get it all set up using the horrible airport Wi-Fi. In another year, maybe, you'll need to do the same thing for any of the countries in the Schengen part of the EU. It's best to go ahead and take care of these visas as much as you can at home before you leave for your trip. Not only is it going to save you time, but you'll have plenty of opportunity to research any questions you might have about the visas and the application process. Number 8, download your airlines app. I say this all the time. Download your app and check your seating situation, especially if you weren't able to choose your seats when you first purchased your ticket. Also, the airline could have changed the type of aircraft for your flight, and now you have really crappy seats. I suggest using Seat Guru to help you find the best seats available for your particular flight so that you can have a more comfortable travel experience. And if you are going on a flight that's going to be doing a meal service, I would go ahead and order a special meal for yourself, even if you don't have dietary restrictions. And there's a couple of reasons that I do this. One is that I know I'll be one of the first people served on the flight, guaranteeing, or almost guaranteeing, that my meal will still be hot. And number two, I won't have to worry if they're going to run out of the option that I want as they are making their way through the cabin serving everybody. You will need to do this more than 24 hours in advance, and you can usually start ordering one as early as 30 days before your flight. Number 9, download your entertainment. If you are going to watch movies, listen to podcasts, or read books, as I love to do, you need to download all of these items to your device or devices while you have strong Wi-Fi available. Most of the airplanes I've been on in the past few years for domestic flights no longer have in-cabin entertainment systems, and they're offering Wi-Fi, sometimes free and sometimes you still have to purchase it. But either way, I have not found the internet on the airplanes to be very powerful. And the Wi-Fi in the airports, as we've discussed before, is pretty crappy too. Except for Seoul. The Incheon airport in Seoul, Korea had incredible Wi-Fi. If you are going to use the public Wi-Fi at the airport or on the plane, I would encourage you to consider using a VPN to protect your personal information. Hackers are notorious for using airports to find their next victims. So save yourself from potential hacking, or worse, potential hours of boredom because you don't have anything to read, watch, or listen to. Fully download anything you want to be entertained by. Maybe even a book or movie about or located in your ultimate destination. Number 10, one of my favorites. Finish up the perishable food in your fridge, put fresh sheets on your bed, wash your dishes, vacuum, and just generally clean and straighten your home. I can't tell you how many times my future self has thanked my past self for allowing me to return to a clean and relaxing space. As much fun as travel is, it can be chaotic, stressful, and overwhelming. Being able to come back to a home that is organized and fresh can be the best way to end your vacation. And over here in this video, I have some more tips for stress-free traveling. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have safe and wonderful travels.